Start. Let me start. We're gonna cut this part.
Sure. Take up the questions and let's see what we have.
Yeah.
I have to get prepared.
So, alright, guys. Everybody, whoever is watching us, it's gonna be for the future and for right now. Currently, just thanks for looking up these videos. This video here. So I'm with Mr. Muhammadfiruz and my friend, just being French, making friendship for about 2 years and more. Maybe just in this, especially in this special feed. Now we got our first let's say podcast, let's say discussion together. We're gonna make in here in LFGS. So yeah, it's gonna be about the government, strong government versus weak government.
Well, I think that this is going to be a series of podcasts in a sense. We're going to be talking about various issues related with Central Asia. Governments, countries of Central Asia, economy of Central Asia, level of education of Central Asia, and sightseeing, traveling matters related with Central Asia as well. Basically, we will in depth try to explore Central Asia. Each country, we will try to do what? In-depth analysis of each country of Central Asia. Starting from Afghanistan, not starting from Afghanistan. Afghanistan being also included in here as well. But we have to, as a disclaimer, tell that we're not prepared yet, right, Mr. Pirnazar? We are in the process of preparation. We are preparing things, and today is just some sort of a demo version of the podcast that we are going to have in the future.
Yeah, so we'll start it. Thank you so much for this intro about this one. So yeah, first of all, before you start is asking the questions and general things. So this topic was chosen by you. Actually, you told me this topic to be chosen. And first of all, what made you to just, could you tell us about this, the main purpose why we chose this topic?
The motivation behind the choice of this topic is that, first of all, I have to tell you that we're all citizens of this country. To some extent, we feel the ups and downs of whatever that is happening within this country. So I was particularly feeling certain things related with the government, related with the strengths and the weakness of the government. At one point of time today, when I was having conversation with a random guy who was from Korea, we had a small chat with him together, and then I realized that there are certain things that are not being done right. I think that, I cannot say that not right, but I think that we could do still better in terms of governing the country, governing the people, trying to be able to use the human resources that we have. Well, basically what we have is only human resources. Other resources will lack.
Mm-hmm.
In many respects, our position is not great. We are in the middle of huge, large continent called Asia, and also because of this thing, due to this thing in a sense, we do not have an access to the sea. We cannot have lucrative sea trade that the other countries have. So because of that, at that moment, I was feeling kind of down because on the things that we have to focus, we are not focusing, and I was trying to think, what is the reason behind it?
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing these things. And so, since the topic is about Central Asia, so we're gonna start by first of all a little bit just geographical information about Central Asia. So yeah, tell those viewers and tell those people and tell to me especially so what do you mean by the Central Asia in these countries and nations? And just give us a little bit information about this location of the Central Asia.
Okay, so Central Asia, it basically means what it does mean in a sense. If you look at the word center of the Asia, meaning that more or less the countries of the Central Asia are being located in the center of Asia. Those countries are basically Kazakhstan, starting from the north, going down to Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, going down to south. And further on, going south, we have Turkmenistan and Tajikistan. Those are considered by everyone to be part of Central Asian countries, but also those countries were part of Soviet Union, Soviet states. And sometimes some politicians, scientists also include to this pack of countries Afghanistan as well.
Yeah. Also here, I would like to extend also my just piece of information which I had during I was studying like. For just those who don't know, like I was studying politics in academic administration as a president of Tajikistan, and then before I was studying international relations. And then like I had discussion with teachers, and also some of the teachers like whenever like they were saying the USSR was calling these countries as Central Asia, and then there was the other word Middle Asia, so which Middle Asia just like it was including Kazakhstan and Central Asia. There was like before so collapsing of the USSR, there was such understanding among these nations, and then like USA. Like one of the politician of this country, especially like wrote a book about Central Asia. He included Afghanistan for Central Asia, and they're part of China, especially like Uyghur part. So this like the definition by the like Western definition of this, but in general, as you told, this is like by this Russian, by Russia, it's called as these countries, yeah. Or just was my extension of the knowledge about these things which I was studying in university. So yeah, please, if you have anything left, you could just share.
Well, of course, if we talk about Central Asia, we have to talk about some parts of China as well, especially parts that was
Xinjiang,
previously called as Turkestan, nowadays it's called as Xinjiang. If you look at the translation of the word Xinjiang, it means new land, new realm, and kind of something of that sort. Because this part, the Xinjiang part, was not the core region of China, if you look at it. It was independent of China. Yes, sometimes they were tributaries, sometimes they were independent, but mainly they were autonomous to some extent from Chinese rule. Well, when did the Uyghur people or the region of Turkestan fell under the Chinese rule? It was about by the end of 17th century, in a period of Qing dynasty. Okay, from then on, rather than becoming a tributary state, they were incorporated to China in a sense. Qing dynasty.
Yeah. Alright, cool. Let's move to the other sides of our conversation. So, which we just now gave information about geopolitics, and then we're gonna start with talking about the nations, and especially just nations. Since we talked about Kazakhstan, the Kazakh people and Kyrgyz people and Tajik, Turkmen, Uzbek are living in this region, part of Asia. So so let's talk about this all of them are inside of regional, like Muslims, most of them are, right?
Yes,
so,
Muslim majority
countries are here. So maybe like this special Sunni part. And let's talk about these government structures, and especially like government structure in the field of education in these countries, and which countries been like developed in the field of education. So,
well, in terms of governments, I will just pass to you the conversation because I think that you are, as a political scientist, in a sense, have more information about the structure of the governments of those countries. So please.
So these countries, like after the USSR, they collapsed and they got their independence. So 1991, 1980, like Uzbekistan before Tajikistan, a couple of days. It was 2nd September, Tajikistan 1991, and then before was Kazakhstan, and then these countries got independent. So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. And I think that Kazakhstan was the last Soviet state that became independent from Soviet Union, right? It was on December.
So I guess so, because there was like also they just adopted CIS, which is like Central Commonwealth of Independent States, and in 1992, I guess, right? 1992 December, if I'm not mistaken. and there was like Belarus, Prussia, which is three countries also before they started Ukraine, Belarus and Russia. So those countries just were the adopters and the establisher of this. Let's say like this organization. So just instead of like they made those countries who collapsed after the USSR, they just tried to make it like kind of collaborations, and then they made the organization like registered. This organization was accepted as was like by recognized and admitted by United Nations. So and then that they made. So and then those countries just like together jointly with Russia. So and then after that they just they made another organization which is like a Shanghai Cooperation Organization, also including China. So this was like adopted by China, and also they first of all the main focus was about the border, because the China also has border with these countries, especially with Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Russia. So and then they made these things, and then after that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization just it made also collaboration and cooperation with other countries like such India and Pakistan, and there was like observers such they were observing the first, and then 2017 if I'm not mistaken they became the part of these organizations, and then this in here it's this work, especially just this is like also after that they accepted another organization which stands for CSTO, like Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is what they could be in Russian. So maybe just people like I aware about this word, and this is also like these countries, this region, this side, especially just working together. And also recently there's an organization which is called European Eurasia, so which is like Tajikistan is excluded, it's not part still, because what the Russia is trying to just make Tajikistan a part of this organization, and in some extension, so it's good for the people, for the migrants of our countries, which like most of our migrants in Russia. If it becomes Tajikistan become empty, so it's gonna be some exclusion from the tax and stuff for the migration goodness.
Well, thank you for the information. And I also wanted to ask about the government structure of these countries. What type of governance they follow in a sense? For example, we heard that each country has its kind of structure, like presidential democracy and things of that sort. So, could you be, for example, are all Central Asian countries the same? And
from the point of the law, there is like we're studying like two types of countries, like monarch and republican. Just these countries are all of them Republican, and the form of government according to Tajikistan's constitution. It's Article number 1, which was which was the amendment 2016, just 22nd of May, if I'm not mistaken. So it last time 22nd of May 2016, and it says that the former president of Tajikistan, the form of country of Tajikistan is a presidential. So with the article first in the third row, it says third part. So it says about this one, and also like other Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Russia also are presidential form in this field. So the government, and then also the government is almost the same, the structure, which is like president, so prime minister, and they're like bodies of the prime minister, so many ministers. And then there's like executive of president in all of these countries you can be seen, and then like all of those bodies and the ministries are, so in Tajikistan there are 14 ministries, and there are the committees, committee, and there are like civil services, so civil service about this communication, about the TV station, radio, TV, and those other things. This is like the parts of governments and the authority.
Okay, I see.
All of them have their constitution, so their constitution, and so almost like chapters and parts.
What about now? The question we talked about Central Asian governments, yes, but Afghanistan is also included to this pack. So, but we know that Afghanistan is a totally different country in terms of governmental structures. So what is it?
So we just, as you mentioned first, like you said about excluding those countries, and we are talking about from the Russian view. So that's why like Afghanistan is excluded. So if you talk about the American views of Afghanistan, but we can discuss about Afghanistan too. So here just we are talking about this Russian side, which the Russian call this country as Central Asia. So excluding China and Afghanistan. So that's why just we are talking about these countries, not Afghanistan. But Afghanistan is another topic we can discuss about this later on. Okay. So
you're saying
because just all the Central Asia we should discuss about base view of the Russian view, Russian just scientists in Russian. What's called Russian they like geopolitics,
Okay, so today's topic is going to be basically post-Soviet countries
Yeah,
of Central Asia,
yeah,
right? Afghanistan is going to be some time
yeah. Later.
later on.
Yeah.
We're going to be discussing about
All right.
this.
So next topic, of course, like since I talked, and also now about education field, because you got a lot of achievement. You've been studying like yeah, Korea, right? Been studying here, studying Korea, been like taking part in so many Olympiads, got a lot of achievement. That's great, especially for the school, for the Lyceum was great. It's still like we see the medals and achievement on the wall, and so your name actually. So and it's still like you got the like achievement that like nobody has still like broken the record yet. So in IMO, like when I googled, I saw one of the so I found out one of the most difficult Olympiad in the world. It's IMO, which stands for International Mathematical Olympiad. So and tell us about education and of these countries.
Well, in terms of achievements and in terms of the results that I have gotten, I have to thank you a lot for telling such nice words to me, I would say. But the sad reality is that the level of education of this country is lacking. You know, there are a lot of problems for it. One of the biggest problems is it's undeniable. You know, it's everywhere. An endemic corruption on almost every level, starting from the Ministry of Education, ending up to the basic teacher of any high school, any school, whether it be in a city or rural area. To some extent, you know, everybody tries to exert their force, try to manipulate things, try to gain maximum profit, short-term profit for themselves in a sense. And therefore, sadly, the level of education of this country needs something better. Radical changes maybe, but I think that we hope things are going to get better.
Thank you so much. So please tell us about if you got information about other Central Asian countries, like that you mentioned earlier.
Yes, I can.
And tell us all of them, and then please tell us other countries, and then like we're gonna go back to Korea, and then other countries which you've been, and we will just conclude all of those things.
Sure. Honestly speaking, I've met with a lot of different kind of people in a sense. I've met with almost all Central Asian countries, people of Central Asia. I met with Turkmen people who were really good, well-educated people. I met with Uzbek people. I met with Kyrgyz, and I met with Kazakhs, with almost all of them in a sense. And more or less, I know, at least from the hearsay, what is the level of education of each country. I will say, on the top of the hierarchy of education, Kazakhstan is number one in Central Asia in terms of educational institutions, the quality of higher education that is being given by the country in a sense. No country in Central Asia can beat Kazakhstan. They've got top-notch universities such as Nazarbayev University, Kazakh British Technical University, and so on and so forth. But still, it's good with the standards of Central Asia. I'm not telling that it's a top global hub for education. No, it's not. But for Central Asia, if you look at the countries in Central Asia, Kazakhstan has got the best education. And the second best, in my opinion, is Uzbekistan. Why Uzbekistan? Because Uzbekistan's government, to some extent, is extremely powerful. So it can fund educational institutions, and they can do it in a large scale as well, because by the standards of Central Asia, Uzbekistan has immense amount of population, the largest population. Combined, if you combine 3 to 4 countries apart from Uzbekistan, the population, the total population number is going to be probably still less than Uzbekistan. So in terms of population, in terms of human resources, Uzbekistan has the largest opportunity. They try to use it, but of course there are still the same problems as I have told in Tajikistan. The corruption is endemic, the level of education is still poor, but it's developing. Various international institutions, educational institutions are coming and opening up their branches within Uzbekistan, but again, they are being concentrated only to several small pockets, like very few cities in Uzbekistan, like Tashkent, main focus, almost all of the focus of Uzbekistan is there, and some maybe focuses happening in Samarkand and Fergana Valley cities and sense. And then, in my opinion, Kyrgyzstan has a good education comparatively in Central Asia. Why? Because I've heard about their universities. University of Central Asia, the main branch, is being situated in Kyrgyzstan. There is another Kyrgyz-Turkish university called Ataturk Alatoy University, which is also kind of relatively good, I would say. So those institutions provide you with very good education. Comparatively, again, I'm not saying that they educate leaders in their corresponding fields. Nothing of that sort. Compared to Central Asia, the education that they receive is relatively good. That's the thing that I mean. Then it comes to two remaining countries, Turkmenistan and Tajikistan. Both of them are suffering from certain diseases, let's say, in a sense, endemic diseases, and therefore education system is not improving at all. If anything, in my opinion, it's going backwards, especially in Tajikistan, sadly.
So yeah, alright, thank you so much for this information and sharing how it's gonna be like. So, but the question is, so for now, as we see every day, are we just improving or decreasing? So like we see, let's say like you did study here in the, if I'm not mistaken, in the study of finance, right? So you studied there, and then you left. You just finished. I guess you got your course, and so you just went to Korea, and then like you studied in Korea. And let's say in one of the side, so when we just a lot of time we hear this conversation, and there's gonna be a lot of just speech from the ministers, from the like speakers of this Minister of Education Science, saying like we just a young country. So, and of course if you just compare to those countries like the Korea and other countries, so also those countries just got independent in 1991, and also Korea, like there was a war, right? 1884, 85, they would just had a great war, civil war, right? Is it civil war? It's called. And
it's not exactly civil war.
So it's kind of war, but so the tough war, right? I mean, but so why the education like? Is this because let's say? Let's go back to the management, because this topic went complex. But I'm just so sure you're just very good and very smart guys. So you understand. You can just understand and discuss about all the type of question. Maybe it's gonna be difficult for some other audience, I guess, for just some other listeners. Maybe it's gonna be. Let's say like the question is simple. Like, are we just improving compared to the past in the field? Let's break down the topic into the many parts, because there are many sides, right? Just like buildings, we build a lot of schools, right, which weren't in the past. Yeah, so we made a lot of schools like in different regions and remote villages, if you've been to other parts, and even like still like there are in some places that schools are being built, in Chalila, especially in the remote village, which I was last time. So could you just give a specific and break down the topic into the parts and to give information about it?
Okay, so first of all, the increase in number of schools is not because of certain thoughts of improving educational system. It's not about that. Schools are being built, yes, but it's out of necessity, because the population in Tajikistan is growing rapidly, and therefore to satisfy the needs of the people, government has to somehow either find some funds to open the schools through some sort of sponsoring and things of that sort, or directly try to open the schools by itself in a sense. So it's not as I said to you.
So in terms of education, I got you, thank you. So in terms of just education and knowledge, so being just
And
included
also, from the I've been in the educational institutions, higher educational institutions, at universities, various kind of universities within Tajikistan. What I have observed is that, sadly, the purpose of attending to universities for majority of students, I can assure you, for 99.9% of the students, is not to gain some sort of knowledge, but to probably get a paper of diploma and maybe to some extent to postpone or be exempted from military service. Sadly, that is the reality. And on top of that, universities of ours simply cannot give competitive education to the students. Education which could make the students competitive in the global market. Nothing of that sort. Simply cannot do that. For that, we need to have complete overhaul of education system from top to toe. Huge amount of investments, but government is not ready to do something like that.
So thank you so much for this information. Now please tell us about a little bit about the Korean education. So, and how is the Korean education? How was the experience in Korea?
Well, Korean educational system is one of the best in the world. I have to tell you, I have to accept, and it is one of the most difficult, most challenging, and at the same time producing extremely high quality people, in a sense, employees for the future employment. Why is that the case? Because if you look at it, Korea by itself was, in terms of natural resources, was similar in terms of position to Tajikistan. But of course, they have certain sort of blessings as well, because they are being surrounded by sea. Effectively, they are an island nation, because North Korea, if you look at it from the north side, it's just blockading South Korea. So there's no land route for South Korea. The only thing that they have to rely is the sea, in a sense. But it's also a huge benefit to them as well. So, in terms of resources, they are kind of relatively poor. What do they have is, like us, they have a lot of alabaster and, like material for the construction. Yes, there was a time when Korea was trying to thrive in terms of those industries, real estate and things of that sort. The same thing is kind of happening in Central Asia. But the thing is, they understood probably from the beginning one thing that is really important. Look at this. Let's look at Korean history in a sense. The war in Korea happened in 1950, started. And Korean War ended in 1953, technically. Well, technically it did not end, but
It was the first stage.
de facto it's kind of ended. We have some sort of armistice going on in a sense, but no peace deal between the two countries yet. So, from 53 to 83, if you look at Korean economy, Korea had a huge leap in terms of development. Of course, in 1953, Korea was completely destroyed. There was almost nothing.
So
No
which
industry
Korea?
whatsoever. South Korea, of course, the miracle, the one who kind of performed to some extent a miracle in a sense, in terms of economy. So there was nothing. But in 30 years, their economy grew tremendously. And afterwards, within 10 years, they were one of the bigger economies of Asia at the time. in 1990s already. Why this thing happened? Because, of course, to some extent, under the supervision of the United States, but also they have invested hugely to the only and the most valuable resource of theirs, to their people, educated them, and their mentality, if you look at it, like you have to study hard, no matter what. The main focus was kind of education. They sent a lot of people abroad, especially to the United States. Many of them graduated, did get doctoral degrees, and then they returned back. And then, partially on the backs of those people, and partially on the hard work of the people, of local people, or non-educated people of South Korea, economy grew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me ask you another piece of information about this one. So now look, so we said that when they were happening and stuff, so the Korea was totally destroyed almost. And now those people who are governing the country, governing the Korea, so all of the most of them like had been studying abroad, because so for what they say, we can just judge the country, or we can just see the country by because what kind of people are governing the country, and then the people will be like that because those are leading the country. As well, like the Korea has been is been like governing by the like ministers and so education and scientists and stuff. Those been studying abroad or been studying in Korea. Like most of them, according to your like understanding, I mean like information, getting information from news and stuff. I think you got my question. What I meant.
Well. Yeah, of course, in terms of education, I think that almost all the politicians of South Korea got extremely good education. Most of them graduated, males, majority of them graduated Seoul National University within Korea. This is the top university of Korea, one of the best in the world. And there's another university for females. It is top university for females in Korea.
Just females study there?
Yes, only females. No males.
Really?
Yes.
Is this like a religious or something?
No, it's just
separated male from female. I'm hearing
it's
for the
not
first time.
For separation of males from females. Nothing of that sort. Majority, almost all universities are co-educational. Co-ed. But there are some universities which are targeting only females and so there are some universities in Korea. Okay, so LH, which also produces a lot of politicians within the country, and the education level is also really good.
So and those people like who graduate abroad and will be given so upper privilege among this population because they know like other language, and so they knowledge, and what's been like taken as an advantage for or as a privilege for accepting the person for a job.
There is nothing of that sort in my opinion. Right now, yes, in our country, if you get an education within this country, and if you get an education in another country abroad, let's say in the United States, then the level of knowledge, the gap between the training and knowledge of the people is going to be tremendous. But there's nothing of that sort in Korea. The gap that existed in the past in terms of giving the quality education has been completely erased within Korean society, within Korean education system. I'm telling you, Korean education is one of the best in the world. One of the most competitive systems in the world, I would say. But I have to tell you that it also has its drawbacks. Why Korea is so successful? Because students are working extra hard. Whoever is working extra hard. You cannot imagine the amount of work that the average students, high school students are putting in a sense. They start from early in the morning, they wake up, they go to the classes, and they end their education at midnight. And this cycle continues. So, in that regard, students sadly are also, some of them are being extremely mentally pressured, and it also causes bad results as well, like suicides among the students. Sadly, this is something that we have to take into account. But Korea is probably is taking that risk, that bad pill to some extent, accepting that yes, we are facing with this kind of problem, but this is inevitability. Maybe, I'm not sure about it, but this is just my opinion.
Alright, thank you so much. So for this information, I hope just we discussed a lot of parts of these countries, and especially like plus Korea, Central Asia plus Korea, and like a little bit information about guys about the Eastern Asia. We get information about in like so. Thank you for watching us, everybody. So I hope this is gonna be so beneficial for English learners and for the just politician and for the for just also working in this educational field, and this is gonna be informative for those people. So thank you very much, Mr. Muhammadfiruz, for this information. So and just we will be see you in the next video.
It's hopefully gonna be helpful to us as well. Well, you know, every podcast that we do, in the end, what we're trying to do is we want to learn something as well.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you everybody for listening us and being patient. Thank you. See you later.